Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Emo Entrepreneur, the podcast where I talk about all the emotional shit with running your own business. Today I have my first non-beauty guest, Vince Davis, aka DJ Just Vince. Pew, 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 pew. He's a musician, producer, and DJ known for creating electrifying party atmospheres that keep dance floors alive. When not on tour or supporting hosting parties and supporting artists big and small, he collaborates with emerging talents and graces renowned events such as Emo Night LA and Heat Waves Texas. With a knack for blending deep cuts and timeless classics across genres, Just Vince delivers eclectic mixes that ensure an unforgettable experience. So, Vince, welcome to the pod. I'm so excited to have you on today. Oh, you're still very beautiful, but finally we can talk
Just
about
like I
something that
wrote it.
doesn't involve
Excellent.
the aesthetics
Perfect.
field
Felt
or
so
the beauty
legitimate.
taste,
No,
which
it's good to
is
see you. I'm excited.
equally as
I'm
exciting to
stoked to be the
me because
first
as much as I
non-beautiful
love
person
what
on the
I
pod.
do, I don't like to talk about it all the fucking time. So finally we can talk about something else.
Yeah.
Yes. Say it again.
Yeah, you contain multitude. You're a whole person. You're more than
Well,
just the most successful woman I know and my personal hero,
yeah,
you
it's
know?
gonna be a good time.
You're a
Not
music fan, you're a
only
dog lover.
are you my first musical guest, but also one of my very great and dear
No, I'm
friends,
super stoked.
someone
So it's gonna be
that I've known for many a years. So for anyone who is new to the DJ Justin's lore, tell us a little bit about what got you started into DJing, into becoming the multi mega sensation that you are today.
this is actually super appropriate because I was just talking to one of my friends about this recently. Like,
Ain't nothing wrong.
what's the roots? Like, who decides they want to be a DJ? And I owe a ton, genuinely, to the Ninja Turtles. It turns out most of my life I've just been trying to become Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. Like,
Yes.
yeah, and I noticed I was like, one day I was riding a skateboard holding a pizza, true story. And I was like going home to record a DJ set, and I was like, I made it. And the person I made it to is Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. Uh, no, in a real way, I can't tell when I first saw DJing or what I loved about it. My mom will tell you that I asked for turntables when I was 8 years old. And she was like, why? CDs exist, MP3s are coming out. Why would my son want records? When I was a little kid, festival DJs weren't really a thing in America. So DJs were just cool guys at parties. And I was like, man, I want to be a cool guy at a party. That
Mm.
seems fun. And that idea just never left me. And when I was out of high school into college, I like just took all my summer money and bought a DJ setup, and I did it. And I literally haven't stopped. Like I started when I was 18. I was full time by the time I was 19. Like it
Yeah.
was the only way I was like buying my books in school. And then I got out and I had a job for a little bit, but I kept DJing that whole time. And one day I was just like, well, let's just do this as long as we can. Uh, and every and every party still to this day kind of feels like it could be the last one. Like I booked my
And
first
that's
parties and I was like, ooh, maybe
crazy to
this will
think
suck.
about
Maybe no one
too,
will ever
but
hire me
also like
again. I
it's
better go really hard like
I
it's
don't
the
know, it's
last
almost like
one.
a
And then I just treat
dichotomy
every
of like
single party
it's
like
a
that.
really
Now
sad
it's been
way to think about things, but
actually
also a
18
really awesome way
years,
to think about it too, because
which
it's
is
like
insane.
nothing's gonna make you go harder than being like, this is gonna be the last time I'm ever gonna do this. Or
Yeah. Yeah, I better invite every single friend I have. I better bring my A game. I better
Yeah,
make sure I'm really enjoying this moment because who knows? Maybe I'll be washed after this. Maybe I'll be
so true,
cooked. You know,
bestie.
like
So
I
true.
now I've been doing it
So
long enough that I'm
when
like,
okay,
will I
so
be
you
cooked?
went to
Probably
college. So
not. But
what were
everybody's
you
cooked
majoring in? Like
someday,
what
and
was
you know I want my
your
last party to be dope
I
if it's
mean,
the last
I know
party.
that you started DJing kind of like on the side, like doing parties and stuff, but obviously you were still doing school. So, I mean, what was your did your parents have like a goal in mind for you, or were you like, "Oh, I need to get a degree because this is just the thing to do"? Yeah.
Yeah, no, my parents were just always you're going to college as parents, you know? Like it wasn't really I have three brothers, there's four of us.
Yeah.
They're like, listen, you're black in America, you gotta get out there and do your best. Like, so I just always knew I was gonna go to college and I wanted to, you know, movies make college look cool. I do like learning, you know? That's not like my brand, but I love learning.
What?
Um
Okay, something new
and
I
when I
didn't
went to
know.
school, I went to school, I majored in communication with a focus in mass media campaigns and a minor in Elizabethan literature. Uh, oh, I guess we've never talked about that. Yeah, that wasn't on purpose. I took a writing seminar. I had to take a writing class
Yeah.
freshman year, and of all the classes, I was like, well, there's no new Shakespeare coming out, you know, and I've already learned a lot of it in high school. So I was like, this seems like it'll be pretty easy. And it was super fun. And it turns out
Yeah.
I just kind of like that stuff. So every semester I would take either like, you know, the next Elizabethan literature class or a creative writing course, just so I'd have something like creative to do at school. And then when I graduated, my advisor was like, oh yeah, you took 18 credits of Elizabethan literature. That's a
Yeah.
minor, you know? And I was like, oh, yeah, fully by accident. I was like, yeah, I'll take
Okay.
creative writing 2. I'll take creative writing 3. I'll take Shakespeare 4. You know, uh, yeah. And my plan when I went to school was to write for magazines. I was like, gonna, I was gonna be a freelance journalist, like traveling the world, writing about like sneaker culture in Finland or
Yeah.
something. You know, like that's what I wanted
And
to
now it's
do.
just online
I just wanted to
blogs.
like go around doing cool shit and like letting people know about it. Um, and then like right when I got to college, magazines like were dead forever. You know, uh, yeah. When I went to school, there was a class called Writing for Magazines where they had like alumni connections at Condé Nast. So by the end of the course, you were published in a magazine. Like that was the goal of the course to get you published.
Okay. I can well, what's
And
kind of
before
cool
I
is
could
like
take that
you
course,
can really go
they
back to
canceled
doing
it and
anything
replaced it
like
with a class called
you
Writing for
can
New
go to
Media, which
doing
was
that
a
at
blogging
any
class.
time.
And I
Like
was like, wow, the world
even if
really changes
a week
fast.
it's kind of wild. I mean, you kind of merge your your two loves into one. I mean, now you just keep the DJ
Yeah,
all
now
over
it
and
turns
tell
out
people
I'll
that
just
you do
start a
cool shit all the
Substack or
time,
something.
but you just do it online. Yeah.
Like, wow, I did it. You're right. No, but that was like, and I never had a vision of like working. I didn't have like older brothers or cousins. Like, I didn't know any like successful 24-year-olds when I was 17, you know? So I was like, the way I viewed adulthood was like a cool music video. You know, I'm like, I'm in a nice apartment. I'm in a desk wearing a suit probably. You know, I didn't have any details or specifics. And then but I did love DJing. And once I started, it picked up really, really fast. And I was just doing it all the time.
Hmm.
So when I got out of school, it was like the height of the recession. And I was like, oh, there's like no jobs, but people are partying harder than ever. So I'm just going to keep doing this, you know? And then I got a job. I was like, well, I just spent all this money on this degree. I did market development for a tech distributor for 3 years. Uh, and then I got headhunted from that to a marketing firm for 2 years. And that whole time I was DJing, and I was like, well, I don't need both these jobs, you know, like DJing and my day job. And I was like, there's only so much time to be a DJ. You know, like you can be a businessman at any age. There are plenty of 60-year-old businessmen, but you rarely see 60-year-old up and coming DJs. You know, I was only so many years where I have the energy to go out and do this every night. You know, I was DJing at night and still working during the day.
Yeah,
So some days you're doing, you know, full days. And I
for
was like, I'm not
sure.
going to be this
I
like
feel like
hype
I don't know. I
forever.
feel
I
kind
should
of the same
put my
way.
all
Like,
into the thing that
just
I
do
like
the
the
shit that
most.
you love now.
And that
You
was
can
like
do some
literally
shit
like
you hate
10
later
years
when
ago.
you're closer to dying.
And it worked out so far.
Exactly.
Yeah, the good news is stuff you hate is always available and there's plenty of it. So if you need to do some stuff you hate, there's no pressure on that, you know?
This
Because you can
is
only do
what
the things
having
there's
the
only
notebook is for, so that
there's
I
only
can
so
write
many
down
things
the
you
time. I
love,
feel like,
Paul.
I don't know, growing up, it's like your parents tell you to do shit, go to college, and you're like trying to figure out you as a person. What do you like to do? Why can't I make money doing the shit that I like? And then when you finally do, you're like, holy shit, I struck gold, so I'm just gonna do this forever until I can't anymore. Yeah.
You know? Do it until you can is kind of the only option. What is kind of unique from my experience is that when I decided to go from consulting to give
Yeah.
DJing a shot,
None of my
my parents were like stoked, and that's because my mom is a musician. You know, my dad's like a businessman. I still don't really know what he
yeah.
does. I never did. Like it's business. Uh, yeah, you know, he goes to work. That seems like his personal time. He has his own friends. He's in a bunch of group chats, and I love that for him. But my mom is like, my mom's a Christian singer, worship leader, choir director, and has been my whole life. So when I was like, we were all children, me and my three brothers, we all played music. And before we graduated high school, we'd all made money playing music, you know, whether that was I was in a punk band that toured because it was a bunch of little kids that had already
Yeah.
been playing guitar for a long time. You know, we would play guitar and piano at like art galleries and charity wine tastings and things like that. So we already had a taste of like, oh, you can go make money playing music. So it wasn't like a lot of people have to come from this idea of like, how do I become a musician? How do I become a creative? How do I do my own thing? But I was like, oh, well, I'm 16 now. You know, I can go make $150 playing guitar at a vineyard for a couple hours on a Sunday. Like, and if you're 15 and 16, that's like a ton of money. So I already think music is a way to make a quick buck, you know? So, and then when I went to go full time, my mom was like, oh, you know, there's plenty of ways to make money with music. You know, you can DJ your parties, you can do your corporate events. She's like, you can go teach guitar lessons, you can give DJ, you know, so they knew that there were avenues to be successful in music. So I didn't have to fight that initial battle that a lot of people have to do when they're launching a project with the people around them because they're like, they have your best interest in mind and they
Having
ask you,
you
how
been
are you going to
surrounded by
live off
your
this? You
entire
know,
life definitely
because
already. I mean, you came out with
they
a
don't
foot in the
know, but
door,
I didn't have to
really.
deal with that. I just had to go do
So
it, which didn't make it too much easier, but a little bit easier, you know? Yeah. You know, it's not, I wish my mom wasn't a Christian singer so I could have been more of a Nepo baby. Cause, you know, like, you know, I don't know how much everyone here cares about BB and CC
yeah, that would have been.
Winans, who were like 90s black lady church singers, my mom were, you know, like, it'd be cool if that was my genre. Uh, but no, she didn't know anyone in indie dance. I wish my mom was in a hardcore band. That would have been more useful. But I knew you
And
could do it. You know, I was like, oh, my mom plays music all around, you know, and she has four kids. So it's probably easier if I do it just with my skateboard in my trunk, you know? So I didn't have to jump through that first barrier. But it didn't make it any less weird to tell people
yeah,
about it. They're like, you're quitting your what to
like
do
with your
what?
mom,
You know, like
with her being
you're gonna move to Atlanta
already
and
in
be a
the music
DJ? What are you
sphere
talking about? You
and
have
just
insurance,
being
you know?
so like integrated in the church and doing Christian music, was she ever like adverse to you doing like frat parties and like yeah, like playing the more I don't know how I would say this, like the more risque of venues and
Yeah, like
like
playing
after
at
hour
strip clubs
shit.
and
Was she
stuff.
just like, "You got it, sweetie, do whatever, have fun," or was she kind of like, "Vince, you need to get your shit together, come back to Jesus"? Mm,
I think my mom is just excited that I'm doing something I love and doesn't my mom never really partied, so she's never been to an after hours. She's
yeah,
never been to a strip
well,
club, so she's just like, my son's
because I
DJ.
feel like I don't know. I feel like
Where and for what is
parents
really none of my business.
pussy
I
or
know he's
just like,
pushing play.
no.
I know he loves his life. That is all I can ask for my boy, and I appreciate that. It is.
Hmm.
I was just talking.
Yes,
I was literally just talking to someone about we were talking about Chapel Rowan,
love.
and the stop bringing your straight boyfriends to Chapel Rowan discourse.
Mhm.
Uh, and I
I
was talking to some of my homegirls, and they're like, well, they obviously
read
gave me
me
the
to
Chapel Rowan
film. Yeah,
pass, which
something
I appreciate.
about that song in
But she
particular
has
is
she has that
so
song Pink Pony Club,
beautiful and
which are
like
you familiar? Are you a
I
Chapel
don't it
Rowan girl?
pulls at
Obviously,
like some
who am I?
kind of
What am
heartstrings and
I saying?
almost brings tears to my eyes. And I don't know what fucking lesbian sauce is in that one particular song, but do you get that too? It's like such a I don't know, like an emotional thing. It's a beautiful, like more upbeat song, but it's also I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. But it,
yeah. You, I have cried when Pink Pony Club came on. I've done it. I wasn't even paying attention. I was like, what the fuck? um, but I was talking about it kind of relates to what you're saying about what does my mom feel about me doing living the way I do, DJing, kind of whatever is cool. And it's when I first moved to Atlanta with my brother. We lived down the street from the Pink Pony Club, Atlanta. It like is a strip club, and I got there, and I'm there less than a year, and I was DJing like I did a couple warehouse
right.
parties and I did a couple swinger clubs. That is a thing that exists in Atlanta. It's huge, and they pay more than regular partying because you can't post about it. Like half of being a DJ, like half of your DJ pay is like clout based, and I can't pay my rent with clout, but it lowers the average price of my drinks, so it's not like useless. But if you're DJing a private party at like some weird bughead roof pool, you can't post that. So they're like, here's like 70% more to keep your mouth shut. And but I just like I was DJing them and I was good at them, and they once you do a few, people know about you and
Yeah.
you get hired more. And I was like, well, I don't know how this happened, but it's one of those like what mom sees you, you're a pony girl now. I was like, yeah, this was not on my bingo card. I didn't see this coming. I'm
Yes,
not gonna do this forever. But
yes.
for right now,
It's
this is a
like
pretty
you
weird,
feel
fun
so
time.
connected to it. It's
And
crazy,
that, but
but
that moment, like I
that's
heard Pink
wild
Pony.
that
The first
wild
time
that
you hear it, you're just singing and
you were
dancing.
like right down
The
the street
12th time you hear it,
too.
you're like, oh no, the song is about
So
me.
how long did you and your brother stay in Atlanta for?
So my brother is still in Atlanta. He met his wife there and just has two kids. He's there to forever. But I was only in Atlanta for like 18 months. I wasn't in Atlanta forever. I moved to Atlanta, and the idea was I loved Atlanta, and the idea was to settle there and DJ. And once I kind of got out of the club scene, I was gonna open a wedding DJ company because I did some. My friend ran a wedding DJ company back in Buffalo, and he had a great time. He DJ'd all the time, and him and his wife were bringing in like $1 million a wedding. See, they bought a big boat. I was like, oh yeah, this is possible. This is a nice kind of DJ retirement plan when I can't do after hours anymore. Uh, but while I was in Atlanta, I got linked up with the band City Under Siege in Dallas. I got hired to just play on a tour, and it was super fun. And I was like, hey, if you want to do that more, I'm always down to tour with you guys. And then we played like 100 shows over that next year. And then when my lease was up, my brother was like, so are you going to move to Dallas? And I was like, why would I move to Dallas? I love Atlanta. All my friends are here. And he was like, He's like, dude, you have a band out there. You have friends out there. I had a job out there. I was working at the door when I was off tour. And he was like, just move to Dallas. And I was like, you raised some valid points. And, you know, and then I did. And I literally, like, it's hard for me to nail down the date I moved to Dallas because I would go out there for tour. And then at the end of tour, I would just stay around and hang out and, like, you know, work at the club a couple days and see all the homies. And that trip would stay longer and longer and longer. And I think we had a tour and I came to Dallas and then I just didn't go home. And then I had to go back to Atlanta. Our lease was up, and the day our
Yeah.
lease ended, I drove all through the night in our band van to Atlanta. It's like pack up the last of my apartment and drove back. But I'd already been there for like 2 months, you know, like so. Yeah. But Atlanta
Wow.
was tight.
I went to
I love
Atlanta
Atlanta.
in
It's if I
March.
could
I
take
was there
every single
for
person I
a skin
know
games
in
competition,
Dallas
but
and move you
it
all
was
to
like
Atlanta, that would
okay,
be
so
my
they said it was in
ideal living
Atlanta, but it was in
situation.
Buckhead.
You know?
And so I didn't even get like the real Atlanta experience. I got the rich.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, Buckhead slaps. I mean, I would say like Atlanta is like New York City if all the boroughs were separated by the biggest highway you've ever been on in your life. And I always feel like Buckhead is kind of like the Midtown Manhattan of Atlanta. You know, like it's got like businesses and it has like bottle service clubs with Lamborghinis outside. But like I lived kind of next to Buckhead
Just
when
want
I
to be a
lived in
normal.
Atlanta. And I was like, if I wasn't DJing, I didn't like, if I wanted to go party, I was like, oh, I'm not going to Buckhead. That's too much, you know? Like, I don't want to wear a suit and meet a rapper. I just want
Yeah,
to get
the
drunk with my
the
friends, you know?
was
But like, yeah, but in Buckhead, you'll just be like, is that Rick Ross buying a
but yeah, with
smoothie? You know, it's
you
kind of weird.
moving down to Dallas, obviously that's where you and
Shout
I
out Rick
met,
Ross. Shout out
but
smoothies.
we had kind of an interesting first meeting and then ended up meeting again sometime later and we're like, holy shit, didn't I meet you at this drug dealer's mansion party? Yes, that was us.
Yeah,
Mm, wow.
that is where we met. And what a drug dealer's mansion party it was.
That
For
was
the
a plus
record,
one.
and for the police, I was working that.
I
I
I
don't
was
hang out with
there.
drug dealers who have
That was
mansions. There's that party, and someone who was involved with the after party, you were like, no, I was at that drug dealer's mansion. No, that was a very fun and weird night. And I only got that. I was at work. I was working the door at the Profit Bar, and someone came up and was like, dude, my friend's like throwing an after party at this weird penthouse.
you're like, "You're in
And he's
line."
like, and he asked me if I knew two big black guys to work security. So do you know another black guy? And I was like, and I had someone cover. Yeah, I had someone cover. The show wasn't over that I was working, so I had one of the homies cover my set, and then I went over and like did security for the first hour of this party. And we all know it was just to make sure that like the boyfriends didn't get up. Like they opened the elevators. I remember all the girls got in, and then they're like, "We're gonna send it back down for you guys." And then I like waited 20 minutes for people who had walked all the way up the stairs to be like, "Ooh, sorry, man, we're full."
It's a crazy
And then
one.
I just
It's
hung
a
out
fucking
until like I
crazy
don't know
one
8
because
a.m.
we met
I think I made like
I had come
$1,000
with
or
a
something.
friend
I was like,
who
"What
was
is my
she had
what is
just started,
Dallas?
I
What kind
think
of GTA
I
city
don't
is
think she was
this?"
DJing yet. I think she was still wanting to learn how to DJ.
But it is
Shout out.
funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's where we met, and then we hung out, and I like gave her, so she was like, "Hey, my first set's coming up. Can you
Mhm.
like give me some tips?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So that's like, it's crazy that that's the start of like all of our journeys. You know, I'd done a few
Yeah,
parties in Dallas, but I was still like a band boy who door guide on the side. You know, like you still had a job.
Yes.
they were
We
just
truly have
starting to
history. I mean, we were
DJ, and
talking
now
about
it's
it the
like,
other day
oh,
too
like
about
they're
just
playing
like how
festivals.
crazy, like the
I'm on
fuck is
your
our lives
podcast for
become?
your
Like
business. Like,
even even
we've all
yesterday,
really made moves
I had
since then.
some of my friends here had thrown me like a early birthday shindig or whatever, and we had done like it was so wholesome. We had done like a morning picnic at White Rock Lake and then went to like half price books and I bought a bunch of books and puzzles and I was like, wow, this is what turning 31
Hmm.
is like. If only 21-year-old Jenna could see me now, she'd be like, you were such a pussy ass bitch. Why aren't you double fisting Long Island's and doing cocaine? You're sober
Yeah.
now? Dang. Yeah, exactly. But it's like I'm always gonna have that like party girl in me. It's just like
Yeah,
it's she's just like tweaked a
we're
little
all
bit
growing and
and
changing. You know, you never
just
know.
evolved. She's just like a different Pokemon. Hmm.
You just, it's like you play the song of your life, and sometimes you're in your verse, and sometimes you're in the chorus, and sometimes you're in the bridge, and it changes. Sometimes you're in the breakdown, but you keep playing the same song. It's not a different song.
Hmm.
I do laugh though because I'm always like checking in with like 10-year-old Vince, 15-year-old Vince, 20-year-old Vince, being like, what does that guy think of this guy? Uh, and I always feel like I have a unique perspective because I still do most of the things I did when I was 19. It's like I turned 19, I turned 20, and I was like, yeah, I DJed like 3 parties this
Hmm.
weekend. I went to 2 after hours and I skateboarded. And now I'm 36, and I'm like, yeah, I DJ 2 parties, I skateboarded. I still do those things, so I can see where I've changed and grown. Because I'm a way different guy than when I was 19. Still cool. 19-year-old Vince still passes the vibe check, but like you have a different value system. I'm into different things, and it's really funny to be like sometimes back in Dallas I'd be in the emo night green room hanging out, and I like go on stage and we sing like a Hawthorne Heights song, and now it's like I can remember myself being 16 on stage singing this
Hmm.
Hawthorne Heights song. I can remember being 22 in a weird Honda Civic singing this Hawthorne Heights song, and now I'm on this huge stage. I can put myself in these.
Yeah, it's
I can time
evolutions of
travel back
yourself,
to
but you're
exact
still the same
moments
you.
because I'm still doing those exact moments, but they feel different because they are different because I'm different, and that's really like nice, you know. But I do like,
I think about that all the time. Like if 13-year-old me saw me
yeah,
now, she'd
like,
be like,
and I do
"Fuck!
like to
Oh
think
my
that like,
god, you
oh,
turned out so
if I
cool."
met myself when I was 16, I think he would be really stoked about how I ended up, because I did.
That part, like, I'm so glad you didn't kill yourself those 30 times you thought about it.
Yeah, you'd be like, dude, I'm glad we didn't die before we were 30, like we thought, like, See, my favorite thing is like it's that weird like kind of millennial thing of just thinking you wouldn't make it to 30 for whatever reason. Because like I'm from Lockport, New York. Like I'm skateboarding in a cul-de-sac. Like I'm not from the streets. There's no reason for me to think that like something would have happened to me by now. But I just kind of always figured something would have happened to me by now. And when I was like approaching 30, I was like, oh, I guess like I might be around for a while. I should make some changes. And that happened again. Now I'm like, I have friends who are in their 40s and not 50s. If I have a friend who's like a grown up friend when I'm 15, 16, they're a cool 22-year-old who's nice to me. That person's in their 40s. Their cool friend is in their
Right.
mid
It's
50s, like,
uncharted
and
water.
they're all still alive, So I guess I gotta like prep up. Maybe imagine what a 40-year-old Vince looks like, because it's way closer than it is far. But the good news is, yeah. But the good news is, I feel like when you're younger, you kind of feel like if you don't do things by X, like, oh, if I don't do this by the time I'm 30, I'm washed. If I'm not in this house, if I don't have this
Yeah.
much bank, if I don't drive a Fisker by the time I'm whatever, there's no chance. Where it's like, I look at my life, I have no idea how I got here. Like I kind of planned to get here, but I didn't get here the way I planned, and I never could have seen it coming. And so I'm like, I don't know. It's like that. I don't worry about like, okay, well now I'm in my mid 30s. that's old man club. I got to get out of DJing. I better go back to, I'm like, oh no, I've got some good years in pushing play ahead of me. Uh, but also like now I've been doing this, like I said, for 18 years. How do I keep it fun? How do I stay engaged? How do I keep loving it? Because if
Yeah,
doing anything
it's
over and over and
too
over and
hard
over and
too.
over
Like
again
I
just
never
becomes
want
a
to get
job
to a
to a
point
certain
where I'm
extent,
doing something
So that's the new challenge is like,
that
how do I keep
I
loving this thing
loved
I've
for a
been
long
doing for
time and
so
then it
long,
gets to
for
a
my
point
whole life?
where it just doesn't excite me anymore and I don't love it. That's why I think like with the things that I'm doing now, I don't think I feel like I'll always love what I do because it's always changing, growing, evolving, and like especially with at least for like being in the treatment room for me, like I am focused on helping the queer community and like that's still uncharted waters for being like in the Bible Belt, you know what I mean? Don't even know that someone like me exists out here to help them. So like there's a whole I'm busting down these fucking doors over here and I feel like I'm going to be
Yeah,
doing that
yeah.
probably the rest of my life. Uh, so I feel like I'm not it's something
Like, yeah. What's that thing like? You got into it because you love it and you are passionate about it. But when you're doing it, you're acting as part of your community. And the community aspect is what like really kind of stops that burnout because you're not just doing it to like get a bag. Like, yes, ideally we're all getting bags. But you're also like the bag is kind of just a happy result of doing the things you love for the people and the crews and the scenes you care about. And if you don't have that second part, that community part, that like passion part, then it is hard to do. Doing pre lockdown, I was mainly a tour DJ. And then post lockdown, I was like a club DJ. I was back to being a club guy. And that was like a plan. And, in 2019, I toured so much. I was on the road for like 9 months out of the year. I was like, okay, maybe I'll slow things down, get some residencies. I was like, I'll probably just tour with Aaron Carter and Cupcake, and that'll be my only road stuff. And then, like, that was my plan. And then afterwards, I came back, clubs came back, tours, the level of touring I was at, that kind of like lower middle, like, 500 to 2,500 cap room, $2,000, $3,000 a night party was like very vulnerable after COVID. Because if you're bigger than that, there's like marketing budgets involved. So they'll power through no matter what. And if you're smaller than that, you're kind of doing it for the love of the game. So nothing's going to stop you. But I was in that middle thing where people are investing in it. So there's like a real financial risk. So with COVID rules changing, like I was just like, I'm not touring during COVID. But then I was a club DJ, and all of a sudden you have to work more, like because a tour pays you a rate because you're gone. You can't earn anything else. You're out on the road. That's a different pay structure. You're getting paid every single day, not just for shows. But when you're DJing in clubs and parties and events, you're only paid when you're working. So I all of a sudden, instead of just doing what I wanted, I would just kind of do whatever I could because you want to stay busy. You want to stay working. I love doing it. But now all of a sudden, that last summer in Dallas, when we had the Sunday brunches and I would have the pool parties, and then I'm still doing like a handful of afters, I would sometimes have like 5, 6, or 7 parties in a weekend. Like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like 2 parties Friday, 2 parties Saturday, 3 parties Sunday type events. And that uh, did really start burning me out. And I noticed it when I was at a club and the club was lit. It was like dance floor full. And I looked at my watch and it was only midnight. And I was like, oh my God, I have 2 more hours. And I was like, that's not how anyone should think about DJing a party. This is tight and I should love this. And if I don't love this, I should take a break, because parties are important to me and you owe everyone the best party you can give them because I party every weekend, but most people don't even like I party 4 or 5 days a week. Most people don't even go out every weekend. People got to get babysitters. People got to take long Ubers from the suburbs. Like, so if you're here, this might be the only party you go to. I want that party to be so tight. I want it to be so fun. And like, by then I was like, I'm a professional. I have the muscle memory. I can give you
right.
a good party no matter what. But if I love it, that's how you get an amazing party. And I was like, well, I should take a little break and give people who love it space to love it while I still love it. I don't want to hate it, you know? So I moved back up north. You know, I left Dallas. I moved to Pittsburgh to become a butcher. And then I did that for a few months. And I was like, oh, I maybe didn't need to change my whole life. I maybe just hadn't had a vacation in 3 years. Uh, and now I started this year off, and my DJing is different, but it's just as big as it was. And it's now I'm in a smaller market,
Oh hell yeah.
lower cost of living, but I travel more in a more sustainable way. You know, I do more corporate things, but it's corporate things that I can like get behind. I work with like Zoomies and like
Yeah.
Dicky Skate. And yeah, and I got those gigs through Four Down. I got those gigs through, you know about Four Down. Anyone in Dallas should know about Four Down. Let's just take a minute and plug Four Down real quick. For DWN. It's a charity, it's a food rescue out of Dallas that's run by a bunch of skaters, like OG pros, and they built a skate park and they use it for food distribution. You know, do you need groceries? Come get some groceries. It's the purest, most direct kind of community action you can do. And I got linked up with them through a bunch of friends in the city, and I would do just stuff for them. They need a DJ for a day or a work day or a project. I would just show up, and then they started getting sponsorships. And when they got sponsorship opportunities, they're like, oh, well, we already know a DJ. And that's how I got linked up with them. So like in January, they flew me out to Denver and I did Zoomies 100K, which is like their big, it's for their top performers and all their brands. And then I'm in Pennsylvania, I'm in Pittsburgh, and we have 3 monthlies I run that are fun, weird parties. You know, in Dallas, I was doing, you know, a lot of big shows and bottle service. And here it's like I took over a 90s night for a buddy who's been running it here for more than 10 years. And him and his partner moved, like, and they were like, we want to hand this party to someone who's gonna like
Oh my
treat it the way it
god.
wants to be
Yes.
treated. So me and my friend Sean MC up here do that. And then we're launching 2 new parties this month or August. The first one's called Girl Dinner. It's a girly pop dance party. And then we're gonna do boy bands and ballers. I think it's gonna be the third one, which is just I just wanted it to be hype up and pop music because I was like, I just like DJing weird things and pushing play. And all of a sudden, you're listening to a Bewitched song into Nuck If You Buck, and you're having a great time. And that's what I wanted to do. So, you know, I was in Dallas and in Atlanta, I was doing what other people would say is the like successful DJ thing. You know, I was doing visible clubs, they have cryo cannons, LED sparklers, and those were sick parties. I love every single one of those parties. I still love a bottle service today. I'm not a monster, but but I wanted to stay passionate. I didn't want to be a businessman. I think if
Yeah.
there are people who have that idea that they want to work harder and make more money as a result of working hard, and that's human and that's natural. But that's a business, you know, you're describing. And DJing, while it is an industry and it is a business, DJing is at its core about partying and having a good time. So you can't just treat it like a business. And you know, you have to bring that extra X factor thing to it. And so maybe I got out of what would seem to be on the face a more lucrative and kind of mainstream way of DJing.
Yeah.
But it turns out going back to DJing things that I really love. Taking that emo night emo night is something I love that happened to also get huge, you know, like now it turns out everybody loves emo. So we get to play all these weird songs in a 2,000 cap venue with a video wall, and that's tight. But like maybe not everyone feels that way about like indie dance or ambient noise or like semi obscure 2000s dance music. And then but the people who do love that will show up
Yeah.
for it, and they'll show up again and again, and they'll show up
It's all
consistently. That's how you
bigger
build,
parties are cool,
yeah, a
but like
sustainable
nothing
party, but
hits as
also a
good as
community
like
and a
a
squad.
homegrown
And that's
fucking
more what I'm
house
looking
party
for.
vibe
Just
where
homies who like
everyone
to have a
knows
good
each
time
other.
that we
Like
can
the
scale up
vibes are just
infinitely.
immaculate. Like you know when everyone is just singing along and no one's sitting down, no one's against the wall, like everyone is just bumping, vibing, like everyone's like dapping each other up, giving hugs, like that is no, it's there nothing hits like that. Like that is like you're saying, like that's what DJing is like at its core. It's bringing everybody together. I mean,
I
what you
literally
do
just
is
got
communal
goosebumps when you
based
were
as
talking
well.
about
Like
that.
it's all about making connections between people through music. Like and those bonds really never break. Like they're always gonna be there. Ooh, I got goosebumps again. Ah!
Yeah. Yeah, see, so I laugh about it because I know it sounds super dumb, but it's like partying is very very important to me, and I have to kind of establish what is partying because people are like, oh, so you black out all the time, and I'm like, yeah, maybe sometimes. Partying isn't doesn't require any substances, doesn't require anything. Partying to me is
Yeah.
anytime you gather together with others with the express purpose of having a good time, you're partying. So Dungeons and Dragons, a Mountain Dew taste test challenge, a silent disco, these are all three parties. You know, we are partying. Are we playing when I was a little kid, the the high school pop punk band I was in accidentally started a kickball league. You know, we had a field near our house that we started playing kickball with like our other 10th grade band friends. We would all play kickball a couple days a week, and then more and more just like kids from our scene just
There is
showed up and hung out, and then older kids with cars and grills showed up, and then the city started mowing the lawn and putting lines on the field for us, and then all of a sudden you had like you're partying,
yeah.
you know, like that was natural. We didn't plan that, you know, but that was partying. That kickball is partying, and we weren't even underage drinking, you know, we were just a bunch of 15-year-olds playing kickball. That's partying. But you can take a party, like you could take the same people and put them in the same room and play the same playlist on 2 different days. And those are 2 different parties because a party is the ultimate team sport. It takes everyone's vibe and all their experiences and everything they went through that day and how you bump into each other in the room.
Yep.
All of that creates a party, and every party only happens once. And I just think it's so tight that I get to be there for those parties. Because, you know, not everyone goes to clubs forever, but you never forget your club era, you know? Like we all have parents and weird old coworkers, and they still talk about like me and my girls in the car on their way to the club, you know, like you remember those
Beautiful.
things, and it's like I maybe don't get tagged in every photo I'm in the background of, but I am in the background of millions of IG photo dumps, and that just like warms my heart, you know? Like, just like you and your friends like you're doing a throwback Thursday, you're posting like 10 years of friendship with this baddie, and in one of those pictures like that's my hand turning a
Yeah.
knob, you know, I was there for that. And that is, I just love that, you know, and I didn't get that feeling when I was a consultant helping do new product launches for green manufacturing partners. You know, like it's a different vibe. So yeah, partying is important, being passionate about what you're doing is
So,
important. But
mhm.
knowing your limits and how to stay your best and most on point at what you're doing is also important. And the thing is, it just takes living your whole life to figure those things out, you know, like,
Yeah,
and you're
where's the
always
world
figuring them out.
of
So,
like
like, I'm stoked
DJ
about where I'm at.
culture
I'm stoked
and
about the stuff I have coming up,
partying going next?
and
Are we gonna
you
have
know, but
another
I also
COVID
am like
lockdown? Who
optimistic and like
knows?
curious. Like, I wonder what's gonna happen. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, people are more sober than ever, and that has changed clubbing. And like, yeah, like,
Yep.
and it's, oh, you and I know from experience, like, yeah, you're sober. Like, our friend, a lot of people we met at Drug Dealer Mansion after hours are sober now because we had a real good run, you know? I'm not. This is actually truly in this glass on the rocks. But I understand it. And if someone wants to get sober, I'm always like, hell yeah, I don't need a reason. Oh, you don't drink? Great. Do you want ginger ale? Do you want soda? You know, we got other options. But post COVID, because I talked to like, we're all DJs. You know, people thought
Mm,
lockdown's gonna end, the clubs are gonna be back better than ever. But it took time to ramp up. People don't just flip that switch. I knew that because when I was in
yeah.
college, we had a swine flu outbreak. Because my college was super international.
Days.
You know, kids leave Cornell for the summer and they just spend the year like the summer partying and child like all over the world. Then they all come back and drink out of the beer pong cups because that's what we did. You know, this is so now like, now all 200 people at this party have drank out of the same 15 cups. And they shut down parties. There was a 8-week moratorium on parties my senior year. And at that point, I was paying for all my books, food. I was living off DJing. And orientation week through that first week of school is when I would make like, a big grip of cash. And when when the bands ended, I had a Thursday night club residency that was like always really full. And that took time. The frat parties took time to build up because, people got to feel the waters. But this lockdown was different because,
Hey.
well, because I was an adult and all my friends were adults and I was at adult clubs. And those people suddenly got like a year and a half, 2 years to really be like, oh, maybe I don't love drinking. Maybe I just don't know what to do with my hands when I'm in a club. Maybe I, like maybe those crews, I always say what we lost during COVID is like the fourth, fifth, sixth member in your squad, that person you kind of soft bully into partying with you, where it's like, well, if everyone's going, I'll pull up. That person got into a Zoom Dungeons and Dragons campaign. They have hobbies now and they're not coming back. And that's good. You should do the things you love. You should find your crew and stick with it. But you forget that that fourth, fifth, sixth person down your crew is the person who is like creating those magic moments at a party. The person who like that work friend you brought out who you've never seen go hard, who decides to go a little hard. Those are like those people who have those kind of weird Project X spotlight moments, people who are stepping outside of their comfort zones. And though a lot of those people didn't come back, but they still love dancing, they still love partying. And the industry has to shift around that because you can't just open a room and run $20,000 of liquor and live off that anymore. You have to provide an actual fun experience. Which actually, so I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania now. That's like, this is my home for the moment and I love it. It looks like if Studio Ghibli designed Brazil, it's like all hillside cottages. But we have a party called Sunday Disco. I'm actually wearing the shirt. It's not on purpose. I just love this shirt. Disco Sunday Disco is a monthly day party. It runs from 3 to 9. It's in a courtyard of a brewery, but it's not like a drinking focused party. The idea is like, hey, do you love dancing under the sun and then the moon? Here's a chance to do that. And then the DJs just have a tip QR code, and every month they partner with a local charity. So whether it's, queer youth outreach, food rescues, educational things, real kind of boots on the ground providing for people, they provide a party that I go to. And there are Sunday discos where I did not have a single drink because I was just too busy dancing. And like when I do that, I've been in the scene so long, I still will go throw money at a bartender. I will still go contribute to the scene because the rooms cost money. But you can't just have a $5 shots night and put a bunch of Little John on your speaker and call that a club anymore. We're just simply not going to accept it. The industry changes. That's why, and things are so expensive now that you see a lot of those. Like, I think that's why eras parties, 90s nights, emos nights, indie dance nights, Taylor Swift nights, those parties hit because people can't afford to take a risk on a party that might be bunk like they used to. So now they know, like, oh, I'm going to Shrek Rave. I'm going to spend 2 weeks planning my fit with my friends. It's going to be a fun, done time. And that's cool. It's good that people can know what they're getting into. But I do miss the like creativity and bravery of just being like, oh, I'm going because I know this club has good DJs. I'm going because I know these two DJs are really good and I want to see what they do.
Down the
You get less of
promoters.
that. So I'm hoping we can get more DJ and musician and creative driven parties because the promoters have kind of gotten too powerful. And
Mhm.
some of my best friends are promoters. I'm also technically a promoter, but like your local promoter should be promoting. Now we have a lot of touring parties, Shrek Rave
Yeah.
tours. You know, the emo nights are different because like emo night, the LA Grave Base one, they partner with local scenes. We roll in the Dallas, Houston, Austin emo night, and that's Dallas, Houston, Austin people playing those shows. They know the regional differences and what we like. Like what hits in LA does not hit in Dallas, does not hit in Atlanta, does not hit in New York all the time. You have those local people, but a lot of these parties are, and I've done them. They're not. I did Wizard Fest, Harry Potter Club Night. That's me and 3 guys in a van traveling around doing dumb parties all across the country. But if those parties are, that was a niche thing. If those parties are the norm, you lose out on that local feeling. You lose out on that local friendship. You lose out on that local scene. And we're seeing a lot more of it. It's happening to some of the homies in Dallas. It's happening to my friend, my boy K-More is a Dallas DJ I met who moved to Brooklyn. And he moved to Brooklyn and just started throwing his own party. And in Dallas, you got like the new metal, new music night with Kimberly at Trees. They do that. Like there's the Paradise parties at Tiny Victories with Sober and Junk Food and Jesse Supreme and those crews. Those are creator driven parties where they were like, we're going to do this thing and we just need a room for it. And those parties have legs. Paradise is kind of under the radar and because it's a tiny little room, but Paradise is my favorite party in Dallas. And it's a Sunday night in on Oak Cliff. And it's because I know the DJs are going to be sick. I know the vibe is going to be immaculate. I know the people are going to be cool. But that's because you went there for the DJs. You went there for the creatives. It wasn't some investor had $40,000 and rented a van and hired four 25-year-olds to drive around doing Taylor Swift parties. You're here, it's people from here doing their own parties,
Hell
and
yeah.
those
And I'll
parties
put
last and those parties grow.
all of that info in the
And I
show
think we're going to
notes
see
for
more
you
of
to
that, and I
link.
hope we
We'll
do.
link all the
And,
things to all the
if you're in the
info in
Pennsylvania
there.
area, show up to Girl Dinner
Everyone.
August 23rd or whatever.
Yeah, we'll link everything, Instagrams, whatever. We'll put it all below.
I usually
But
forget
yeah,
to self-promote, so I'm
I
glad
hope
I
that there's
remembered my
more
parties.
creative freedom with parties and DJs here. Like even I don't know if you moved before Lady Love opened over in Bishop Arts, but that's like one of my favorite places to go for the DJs because they're just so like they go off of the vibes of the crowd in the room, and I have never seen so many people like
Yeah,
not on their phones. Like it feels like how a club did in the early 2000s. Like everybody dancing and having a great time.
yeah. Like, and you know what? I feel like so people are like, cell phones ruin partying. And I don't, fully agree with that. But I do think that um I fully just lost. I was I just was imagining a video I saw recently of like 10,000 cell phones up in a club, and I was like, okay, maybe cell phones did ruin clubbing. Uh But what I think we did lose with cell phones and social media is the kind of mystique of a party. I was like a little kid in the early 2000s, and there was a club in Niagara Falls. Like, I used to go to the Canadian side of Niagara Falls. Anytime family visits town where I'm from, outside Buffalo, they'd want to go see the falls. And when you go up the like Events Hill that has like the Ripley's Wax Museum and all the Ferris wheel, there was a club on that street. It's called Rumors Nightclub. And I would be like a tween and a teen, and you just see people outside in line, like dressed in their cool 2004 club fits. Everybody looks like they're in a Disney movie and everything's sequency. And the windows are blacked out. You just see lasers and you just hear bass. And I have no idea what it looks like inside. And I was always like, someday I'm gonna party at Rumors nightclub. Like I gotta go. I bet it's the craziest place in there. Like, and you would walk by clubs, you didn't know what a club was like because all you have is like movies and TV, which is like nothing's like that, and like what you can see through a window. Like, but now before people go to a party they hear about, they'll hop on TikTok, they'll hop on IG, and they just look at that party in the past and be like, yeah, okay. So nothing kind of feels special. And I remember when I finally went to Rumors nightclub, it sucked. It was like a tourist trap nightclub next to a Ferris wheel. It's just a room with some lasers inside. It had nothing special at all. But I had been waiting my whole life to go there. And it's Canada, so you can drink when you're 19. So it's like I'm 19. I went to another country. What an experience. It was nothing, but because I didn't have time to get used to it, it was new and I got to really enjoy it in that moment. And I feel like people go expecting to like they're like, oh, I gotta go post. So like when I do my DJ sets, and if I'm doing it, if I'm like a select start, if I'm like a bottle bond or something where that's going to be more of a mainstream Saturday night big room place, I will I will play the meme song early. When that Drake 21 song came out and he was all sassy and everyone's like 21, I would play that shit at 11:30. So, enough people are in the club, but it's not peak night. I'm going to loop that 21 part. I'm going to loop it until I see you finish
Yeah.
taking your story. Sometimes I'll see people like doing the lip sync story and like go mess it up, and I'll run that hook back again so they can get their story post. I care about my people. But I will try and get the thing I know you want to post out of the way so you can put your phone away and dance with your friends. But it's something you have to be aware of. Like it's just like, okay, all right, here's the hits, here's the song that no one will shut up on TikTok. Here it is mixed into a Britney Spears song. Here that is mixed into a song you forgot about that we all love, and now we're actually partying. But you have to walk people into that. Where I feel like before, because I did party in that era, like right when social media is popping. When I'm being a monster in clubs, cell phone videos are so blurry. You couldn't prove that was anyone doing anything. And but by the time I'm out of college, we have a handful of iPhones out, and that shit
Yeah.
is getting pretty clear. And now I could be like, oh, where's the party at? And I check the venue, and I'm like, oh, that room is whack. I'm not going to go to that party. And maybe that party would have been sick. What do I care what the room looks like? I'm going to drink 20 Keystone Lights in here. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what it looks like, you know? So partying is in a weird place, but partying is a fundamental part of the human experience, so I don't worry that it's going to go away.
You'll
Liquor is like
always
the
have
third
a job
thing
everywhere.
every culture invents, and like fun dances is like the fifth thing every culture invents. So if we can get rid of liquor and still keep the fun dances, like I'm
No,
like,
I
sure,
love
bet.
it. I love
You
it. I
know?
love hearing about all of your thoughts on it because obviously you're in it all the time, 24/7. And like as someone that doesn't do
So
that
that's
like
where I'm at.
has
I just
always
talk
wanted to
so
do
much.
something musical like that, it's always so interesting to me.
Yeah.
I mean, my ultimate artist is Tay Money, and I just want to make music like that, and I want to be able to just
Ooh,
like
Vincent Jenna noise
be
band collab
ridiculous but
when?
have
Vincent
fun
Jenna
and
back to
shake
back DJ
ass
set?
and bring the vibe. So I mean, who knows where? Well, before no,
Yeah,
go
and you're
on,
already
go
doing
on.
that in every day of your life. I've experienced that just at a restaurant before. So I know you're doing it. You're doing great.
Mhm.
No, I do love. Yep. I was just gonna say I do love talking about, like partying, nighttime stuff is something that everyone has experience with, but I feel like people don't talk about it.
Yeah,
And because of that, people aren't getting the parties they deserve. Some of your friends are drinking too much. Some of your friends should take a break. Some of your friends could take a couple more drinks. Like everyone's on a different scale, but people just everyone is
yeah,
everyone's so personal branded. We kind of ruined it. Like everybody is a brand now. So nobody's allowed to like try new things. People don't want to seem like they're going to something for the first time. They want to seem like an insider all the time. Whereas like I moved up here and I went to my friend, uh my
I
homie,
love
Mount Laurel. They're doing girl dinner with me, DJ up here in Pittsburgh. Uh does this party that's like 412 step, and it's a queer country line dancing crew in Pittsburgh. And they throw like a monthly night. Yeah, and the beginning of the night is line dancing lessons, and then they have a band, and then there's a DJ who's playing they're playing line dance songs he's learned, they're playing just bangers. It's a really eclectic mix. But I showed up like one of my first weeks in town, like maybe the first week I'm in town, I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go to that. And it was at some weird like German VFW hall type building. Sometimes it's in clubs, sometimes it's in bars, it moves all around. But I didn't know anything. And I walked in and I looked very confused, and I had a great time. I didn't worry about acting like I'd been there before. I walked in and I was like, I pulled up to the building and I was
right.
like, what? And then I
This
walked
shit
inside and I was
here.
like, what? And then I learned how to two step, And it's crazy to me that I had to move to Pennsylvania to learn how to country line dance
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah,
was in
yeah.
Dallas for 10 years. But everyone
Yeah.
I know in Dallas is like, oh, the only two step I do
But
is in
that's
the
a
pit,
magical thing.
And I was like,
Like
they didn't want
we
to go to the
need
honky
we
tonk.
need parties for
So now I'm out
everyone.
here. I'm at a honky tonk where like nobody is a hard cisgender person. Everyone's somewhere on the spectrum, and I love it.
Yeah, banger night. Like there's something
you need parties for everyone, and that includes people who don't like dance music and people who don't drink. Like, but I do think
Yeah.
yeah, we're in a golden age of parties that aren't about binge drinking. And do I sometimes miss parties that are about binge drinking? Yeah, but I was also
Oh,
19 when those parties happened. I'm probably good now, you know. Like, that, and I have implemented. This is a left field thing. This might go viral and change the world and make me a motivational speaker. I've started scheduling. You know how you do like mental wellness days? I have started scheduling mental illness days, and that's a day where I have handled all my responsibilities. Like maybe I'm coming off of a grind. Like, oh, I have a bunch of parties in a row coming up. I had to. The most recent one was I had a bunch of like parties and things, and then I just had to fly out to Florida for like a family reunion and a DJ set. And in between that, I was like, I need like a day where I'm not finishing something or preparing for something. And I had a day where I just drank like 11 beers and listened to Beauty and the Beat, Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj, at full volume in my apartment, just raging. Like I for no reason, my roommate was gone. My neighbor got evicted, and and there's no one lives below me. Below me is a bar, so I was like, no one can stop me from running this 2008 banger full volume and trying to chug a beer through the Nicki Minaj verse every time. And is that something you should do every day? No. Is that something you should do every month? No. But I was talking to my roommate. I actually don't really drink since I moved up here because I'm not in clubs 6 nights a week. I don't really drink by myself.
yeah.
Don't let the breakfast truly knock you off your game. It turns out when I'm by myself, me and my roommate trade off buying like a 12 or 16 pack of beer every 2 weeks. That's the drinking level I'm at. Whereas my last months in Dallas, I'm like, oh, I probably drink 50 to 60 drinks a week without even trying and not even getting drunk because a DJ set's 5 hours long. You drink 2 drinks an hour, and that's not even drinks you ordered. People want to buy you drinks. You drink 2 drinks an hour. You drive home from that party and you drank 10 beers today. I do that 4 days a week. 2 of those parties are Saturdays. One of those days I do 3 parties. You'll drink 100 drinks in a week. Nobody should drink 100 drinks in a week. And now I'm like, so when I moved up here, I was like, I didn't want to party
Mhm.
until I was more established. I was like, let me just be a person for a little bit. And I took 3 months where I didn't drink, not on purpose. I still went out. When I went out, I had to drive there. So I just drank 1, 2 beers. I drank like how a human drinks, not like how a DJ drinks or a promoter drinks. And it turns out I love that. And I lost like 60 pounds because I was just doing that and riding a spin bike all day because it's the winter. And I haven't had a winter in 8 or 9 years. Uh, and I love that. But I was talking to my roommate about how I hadn't been drunk. I was like, dude, I can't tell you. I was like, the
Yeah.
last time I was drunk was when I was in Dallas DJing, and that was March. And I was like, and then like the next day, I was like, maybe today we just get a little drunk. It's fine to be trash sometimes. I think it's important. If you
Yeah.
try and keep yourself perfect all the time, you're going to fail. Because nobody's perfect all the time. But not crashing out when you stumble. Everybody stumbles, but every stumble doesn't have to be a full crash out.
Yeah.
And if you schedule a little stumble, like I said, for whatever reason, Beauty
The
and the
good.
Beat just is my motivation
Yeah.
anthem right
Not,
now.
doesn't
It's
have
such
to
a
be that
fun,
often. Well,
dumb,
I was gonna
stupid
ask
song. It's
before
peak
we
Nicki
wrap
Minaj
everything
before she's
up, what
problematic.
your
I was like, yeah, let's
like
just slam beers and
maybe
bang this classic. It was a
what
great
you've
day.
been
I'd do
listening
it
to the
again.
most recently, but obviously Beauty and the Beat has been on repeat for you. Yeah, I have been listening to Porter Robinson's new album, Smile, that just dropped a couple days ago. Um, and
It's the top of my on repeat.
it yeah, wholeheartedly. And
I have not heard it
he's
yet.
an
I've been
artist for
waiting to
me.
actually listen
I
to it, which
started
is
it
not
I
something I've
started
done in a
listening to
long
him
time.
when
Like
he dropped
I've heard really
Say My
great
Name
things about it, and I
in
love
like
Porter Rock.
2010 or
So you
2011.
stand
Like
by it, you vouch.
yes, and what I didn't realize is that he's only a year older than me. Like for some reason in college, I always thought he was so much older, but we were literally the same age. And I
Yeah,
had
he's
just
been around for a minute.
my intro to electronic music wasn't until college and when I started like taking tabs in Molly and ecstasy. And so I started listening to Puerto. Yes, it really is. But he was like one of the first artists I really got into, and I fucking loved him. He's everything to me, and loved every single release he'd ever put out. And I
It's a
remember,
classic story.
um, after he had dropped his Worlds album, he did a live tour of it, and he did a Dallas date at Southside, which I think back then was Palladium. And I remember yeah, I was there. I was by myself and I was sober. And that was the first show that was ever like so beautiful and emotional to me that I just cried during
Blast from
the
the
entire
past.
set. It was just so magical. Like it brought on so many emotions for me. And then it took him like, because he dropped Worlds in 2014 and then didn't drop his next album until 2021, like after COVID. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's such a, like I have watched every Porter Robinson interview. I have listened to every song,
Whoa.
every
You're not
collab,
wrong. That
his
was a
virtuous
gap.
self thing he
Because I
did
still was
after he
listening that whole
dropped
time, so it
Worlds.
didn't
Like
feel like he
I
was
am a
gone, you know?
Porter Robinson lover through and through. I just think the way that he is so beautiful. Like he talks about when he's making things, like how when he get his flow state for him is like he'll
Hell
just
yeah.
be putting drum beats or synths together and like he hallucinates this like mall in the sky, like this beautiful like liminal space that is just like never ending, and that's when he knows like he's making magic. And he's sober, like he doesn't drink anymore. Just like he's amazing.
That's kind of, yeah. Well, that's that
Mm,
thing. I feel like, yeah. Well, like, there's that thing when someone is like, the work should be fulfilling in and of itself to a certain extent. You know, like, you love the things you love. Before you ever opened Gently Skin, I remember you were always like on your game. You know, like that's a thing I just knew about you. I was like, oh yeah, Jenna's got a vibe, she has an aesthetic, and she knows what the fuck she's talking about. You know, like her floss game is consistent and
mm,
effective. You know, like there's something that is something that I didn't realize. It was true about me, but I'd never like realized it, was that I just love making music. You know, like because my first band, I'm 14. By the time I'm 15, we're touring. Not huge, but we're like playing regional shows. We only have one person with a driver's license in our band, you know? But like, so it's always kind of been something that was like, I did it because I loved it, but it was performed out. You know, when I started DJing, my first parties weren't parties for my friends. My first parties were big frat parties. You know, like the first party I ever DJed had 300 people at it, which like yeah, and that wasn't on purpose, and I didn't think it was a big deal. But now that I'm an adult, and I'm like, what, like whatever. So it's always been something that I did it, and it was shared in real time. And the band stuff, we were a little kid band, and Spotify doesn't exist, so we're just playing shows all the time. We're playing. And over lockdown and things, I realized, yeah, I was like, you're making all this music, and I made like it's like a garage rock kind of indie rock, like it's like 6 songs, and I just made it because we're all at home, and who cares, what else? And it was done, and I really, really liked all the music, and I was like, oh yeah, and I realized I'll never put this out because why would I put this out? Who cares? It's not, it's special to me, but it's not anything that needs to be like, what, I gotta put together a band, I gotta come out with a rollout strategy for these 6 garage rock songs about feeling weird as hell right now. Like, no, I did it and they're done. And that is what I wanted. I maybe sent them to like, I don't think I sent anyone every song. And only like 5 or 6 people heard any of those songs, and they're done. And I was like, oh, and it was really freeing realizing I didn't have to put things out. Like I like prepping for a DJ set. I like making my weird promo videos. I like putting together a weird collage flyer. And I like when I'm at the party and like at 90s night, NITE, of course, we spell it the right way here.
oh,
Uh, I realized recently that Linger by the Cranberries, classic banger we all love, and Back That Ass Up, Juvenile, are the same speed. What are you talking about? My whole life, I gotta be playing Linger in the Back That Ass Up. And I realized that in real time in a club, and that was worth that whole party to me. I don't care if nobody showed up that night. They did. That party was lit. I made my rent that night. But the simple experience of realizing in a club that Linger and Back That Ass Up go together, and the intro to Linger is the same length as the chorus of Back That Ass Up, that is a feeling that I would trade for
Beautiful.
absolutely nothing in the entire world. The last emo night in Dallas I did, we realized that Chief Keef Finito, the national anthem, is mixes perfectly with What It Is to Burn intro by Finch. What? And I was, dude, and it was like me, and it was like, it's like the emo night crew. It was like Aaron, Aries Blood, Cheyenne is like right next to me. And that all happened in real time. And we shared that moment of realizing you could play Finito into Finch. And that is why 18 years later, I still love DJing. It's not just, if the goal was to only make more money and do bigger parties, I've kind of hit the limit of that. Like I'm not a festival DJ probably. It's not something that I ever aspired to be.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of DJ. That's like pre-production and video planning. I like being sweaty in a room and realizing that Britney Spears Toxic and Nuck If You Buck are the same speed. And having everyone else realize that. I find fulfillment in the work of itself, and the fact that other people like it because it allows me to keep doing it. But if no one liked it, I would DJ for my friends, I would DJ for my nephew's birthday parties, and that would be it. And I would still love it. Like you love helping people figure out their skit, like you love dropping knowledge. You are already involved in these things. You're passionate about these things. And, I listen to the pod, and those first few episodes, those Gen only episodes are like,
Yeah.
so tight and they're so radical because they are really honest. And everyone in an era of like branding about then telling the reality of like burnout and cash flow is something that nobody in music does. Nobody in music does, like, and it's real, it's hard. I'm like a work, I am by all accounts like successful. I'm just a DJ. I've
It
been
really is.
just a DJ for the better part of 10 years. I've made 10 grand in a day. I've had baller things happen to me, but it's a precarious life doing your own thing,
Yeah.
running your own business, booking your own things because it's all on you. When I'm up, I'm way up, and when I'm down, I'm way down, and I got no one to blame for that but myself. And sometimes I don't even blame myself. It's just life. Winter exists.
Right.
Summer vacations where colleges empty out exist. Not every party is as big every day, so money can't be your only motivator. You have to we live in society. You need X amount of money, but ideally you could love what you're doing. And if money was my goal, being a DJ is the worst thing. I went to Cornell. I have a degree. If I want to make money, DJing is not the most obvious path.
And it's
Go get a marketing job, idiot. Like, but I can't. I love this. I just love it. It's so fun. I love meeting people and doing stuff. And I hate waking up in the morning.
yep.
So I'm a DJ as long as they'll let me do it. And it turns out the way our generation is going and the kids after us, like, we're about to have a lot of people in their 40s who don't have a
Right.
bunch of kids who still like dancing. So maybe I'm the first middle-aged club DJ. I don't know. Who cares? Like, I could never have predicted the future I'm living
That's
in
all we can
now, so
do.
I
Hope
don't
for the
pretend to be able to
best.
predict any other future. We're just
Well, with
gonna do our
that,
best and try and be cool
I
guys
think we
and
are going to
make
wrap
enough money to cover
up
our
our
bills and
convo
buy some
today.
treats. That's it.
It was a blast getting to talk all things DJing and music with you. Where can the good people find you on the internet? Any specific things you want to plug?
So it's DJ Just Vince everywhere. Facebook if you're still there, IG, TikTok. Still on Twitter, never posting, on private, friends only. But maybe shoot your shot there. Maybe you want to read my innermost thoughts about like taco seasonings. Um we have some YouTube things coming up. I have a bunch of DJ homies here in Brooklyn. I've just been trying to combine my friends who record DJ sets but never put them out because putting out a DJ set is a very vulnerable thing, and who would listen to an hour of your music. So we're taking Lotion Gang, which is kind of like a loose crew I've done for a while, and that'll be launching soon. I think our first set is going to be dropping. We're trying to do August 5th. I think I want to do a set. We're editing it. It's called Texting and Smiling and Kicking Your Feet. That's the vibe of the playlist. So that's Lotion X Gang. That'll be dropping soon. But you can follow my socials for that. If you're in Pittsburgh, Philly, Pennsylvania area, follow my stuff. We got monthlies, we got guests, girl dinner, Thursday, August 23rd, boy bands and ballers, August 29th. I don't know when this is dropping. But whatever it does, I'll just be pushing play. I'll be getting back to Dallas pretty soon. I have some things in the work with some brands, going out to New Jersey and getting back to Texas. So yeah, I don't know, just follow me. I post
Beautiful.
fun stuff. I don't work, so if you want to see somebody skateboard in the middle of a day and like zoom in on a bird on Instagram stories and put a cute song behind it, follow me or whatever. But mostly just
Okay.
follow Jenna everywhere and get your skincare tips and your waxing, and that's what I'm doing. I would just want to plug you, I guess. Follow Jenna Cap. Follow my girl J Cap.
Of course.
Get a hand motion, J K. You're out here. No, I'm really stoked. This was so fun. I'm glad you let me just ramble in your face for an hour.
Hey,
Hopefully someone finds that fun or encouraging or learns about that DJs don't have to be smart. You can just be a guy who likes having a good time.
I'm sure when you come back to Texas,
and if you are smart, you don't have to get a job. You can be a DJ.
In person would be really fun. We'll do a set. We can do that too. Well, with that,
ooh, that would be fun. I think our whole life, we could just do an in-person podcast and then not put it out. We just call it hanging out.
All of you lovely people next week.